Hello, this is the In the Yard podcast brought to you by Colin Savala and Braden Cox. Myself and him are both Yankees fans, huge Yankees fans, and I'm a Bengals fan, and Braden is a Packers fan. And we're here to just talk about sports, and we're excited to get started. This is our first episode, and yeah, we're just gonna talk sports, life, other stuff, and let's get to it. Thanks for coming on, Braden.
Yep, of course. So we're gonna first talk. I think we got to start with the Super Bowl. We had a Super Bowl less than a week ago. Chiefs Eagles. Uh, First thing, let's just go over. Is it? Can we officially say that the Kansas City Chiefs are what we grew up in with the New England Patriots, the new dynasty?
I don't think you can say it yet, but I think as long as I get another one within the next 2 or 3 years, I think it would be safe to say. And I
So,
think
so you're gonna tell me five AFC championships hosting in Arrowhead 5 years in a row, not a dynasty yet?
not quite yet, not compared to the Patriots who won what six rings in the 10-year span.
Something like that. Yeah, I know what you mean though.
Um, so so yeah, not quite at the Patriots level. You could say they're a dynasty. Um, I don't think any team has been, not in my lifetime, besides the Patriots, has been this dominant and unstoppable for this period of time, 5 straight seasons, and they're not going anywhere. That's another thing. This was supposed to be their, quote unquote rebuilding year, as some may say, with a lot of rookie receivers.
Washed up Juju.
A washed up Juju, whose career was going downhill until he ended up in Kansas City. But they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Travis Kelsey, Andy Reid. And none of them are going anywhere. So
So
we'll
I'm
see
I, I'm just gonna ask you
where they're
real
going.
quick on the trajectory that they're on, the Chiefs. Do you think Mahomes can get to Brady?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I was a little young to see Brady in his, in his beginning career, but I can't see him being more dominant than Patrick Mahomes is now. And Mahomes is just more of a, he's just more of a playmaker. He can't read the field as well as Brady can, but he could make plays once the ball is snapped better than Brady can. And, he has his Gronk and Travis Kelsey. And, um, so yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes, if I think he can be the next Brady, especially if him and Andy Reid stay together, and especially if he has Travis Kelsey also.
So two things about that, right? For one, it was just announced in the past, I don't know, 2 hours ago that Eric, his offensive coordinator, is leaving and taking the Washington Commanders job. Even though that's just another offensive coordinating job, which, I guess is a career like step up. But in my opinion, like I would rather stay in Kansas City as the offensive coordinator and continue to like dominate. But now you're going to go to the NFC East, which quite honestly has only gotten better. I mean, the Eagles were just in the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, the Cowboys are going to cowboy, but the New York Giants have arguably one of the brighter futures in the NFC. So even with his offensive coordinator leaving, like going into next year, like what kind of odds do you give him? Obviously as a Cincinnati Bengals fan, of course you're going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals, but realistically, now you've got coming off a Super Bowl, like there's the Super Bowl hangover that might come with it. Now you've lost your offensive coordinator. Again, you still got a lot of young guys on this team. What do you think?
As long as Mahomes is there, like I said before, as long as Mahomes is there, they're going to be a contender every year, year in and year out. I don't know. Um, Obviously losing their offensive coordinator isn't, it's not what you want. But I'm sure Andy Reid has someone else that will step right in that role and teach him the way. And I feel like Andy Reid calls most of the plays anyway. Um,
That's true.
and
That's true.
he was able to, and Andy Reid was able to do this with a young receiving core, and Patrick Mahomes. So I don't think losing his offensive coordinator will be that detrimental to the Kansas City Chiefs. I still think they're going to be the team to beat in the AFC for the next 4 or 5 years. Hopefully, along with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. But yeah, I can't see them going away anytime soon, even with the loss of their offensive coordinator, and even with these other teams contending. I still like with the Josh Allen, the Bills, Joe Burrow, and the Bengals. I still feel like the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC.
Fair. Pretty much everything that you said, I think, is spot on. To me, I would consider them already a dynasty just because two MVPs, two Super Bowl MVPs, Super Bowl champions, two of the past, 4 years. Um, and really, like, if Mahomes' line in that Super Bowl against Brady in 2021, I guess that was? Yeah, 2021. If he had, like, somewhat of a line, like, he could be 3 for 3. And I think we're having a very different discussion about it. I think, like, we might already be
Absolutely.
saying, like, listen, like, this dude in 5 years might have 5 Super Bowls. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you're saying for sure.
so, okay, so I think that this is a good time we can kind of segment into the actual game itself. So, the Philadelphia Eagles obviously were defeated by the Kansas City Chiefs by 3 points, 38-35. Eagles were favored by 2.5, I believe. Um,
Yeah, 2.5 it
Talk to me.
was.
What happened with Philadelphia? Where did it fall apart? Was it more so a Philadelphia collapse, or was it more so Mahomes just doing Patrick Mahomes things?
I think it was Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things. The Eagles were favored 2.5, and they dominated, absolutely dominated that first half. They kept Mahomes off the field. The Chiefs didn't have any time of possession on offense. Eagles, Jalen Hurts was driving, getting right down the field whenever they wanted to. The defense, I mean, they didn't look like they have, against they did against Daniel Jones and once Brock Purdy went down, but they still look solid. They were containing Mahomes for the most part and Travis Kelce for the most part. So yeah, they dominated that first half, and then come the second half, Andy Reid makes his adjustments. Patrick Mahomes gets more possessions with the ball, and Patrick Mahomes does Patrick Mahomes things. He picked apart that Eagles defense in the second half. They didn't have any answer for him or Kelsey, or any of the receivers. And, it's just, I wouldn't say it was the Eagles letdown. Their defense, I don't think their defense was performed as well as people were expecting them
The
to.
Philadelphia Eagles, you mean?
Yeah, I
Absolutely
don't think
agree.
the Eagles defense, but, who knows, that maybe had something to do with the field that everyone was slipping on all over the
That's
place.
true. That is something we
That
could talk about too, because I saw something that they were working on that field for like 2 years, and it was like $800,000, and basically all the players were complaining about it. So I don't know, NFL. Something's got to change because you can't go around bragging about, oh, we've been working on this turf for 2 years, like it's going to be fantastic, and then the players go and step foot on it, and they're slipping and sliding, and it's having an impact on the game, I would say. Maybe not as huge of an impact as some people are making it to be, but
Mhm.
certainly, I mean, there's clips I've seen, like almost 10 clips of like players just slipping for no reason.
Right.
And obviously, on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl, you don't want those kind of factors at play.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so I'm just kind of curious your thoughts. We talked about like you already said, like I think just Mahomes is inevitable, but second quarter he went down. He was limping off the field. Like that high ankle sprain, obviously he aggravated it. Goes to the locker room, comes out, and just absolutely shreds that defense. Is that like what do you think? Like what do you even make of that? Like that's insanity to me that someone can go on a high ankle sprain, which arguably is one of those injuries that in the regular season probably keeps you out a month, 3 4 weeks probably. But not Mahomes clearly because this guy goes in the locker room. They give him cortisone. I don't know what they gave him. And he came out. He was flying. And the thing that was most impressive to me wasn't the fact that he could throw the ball. I kind of expected him to be able to throw the ball. Like he's a good pocket passer,
Hmm.
obviously. But like the biggest play of the game was that run in the fourth quarter, and that looked effortless to me. Like, he didn't look phased by that, which is just like, you're telling me with a high ankle sprain you can just run, like outrun all these defensive players for Philadelphia? Just crazy to me.
Yeah, I'm sure the adrenaline of playing in the Super Bowl had something to do with it. Also,
Of course,
when
of course.
you snap the ball, you're not thinking, "Oh, I can't run because of my ankle." It's a Super Bowl. You probably it's in the back of your head a little bit, but you don't if you don't let it affect you, it's not going to affect you. Even though how painful it could be. Um, I just think that his adrenaline's so high. He wants to win. He has that edge.
I agree.
He wasn't going to let it affect him,
That's
and
fair.
it didn't, obviously.
Cool. And I'm with you there. So going from Patrick Mahomes, let's talk about Jalen Hurts. Hurts so good. Uh, talk to me about his Super Bowl performance. Did he exceed expectations? Was it about what you expected? I know you definitely can't say that he didn't meet expectations because he completely balled. I mean, he made that one mistake in the second quarter, I believe, where he fumbled the ball and it was obviously returned for a touchdown. To me, that's not a huge turning point in the game because the final score was by 3 points. It's not like he fell apart after that. But, just talk to me about, his performance overall.
I was very impressed with the way Jalen Hurts played in the Super Bowl. He was he was good. He'd play well. He's played well all season long, but he hasn't played that stellar defense. I mean, yeah, he played the 49ers defense in the NFC Championship game, but that's after the offensive going
He
three
didn't
out,
really
three
have any
out.
pressure.
The
Like, it
Niners,
wasn't like it was
yeah,
going back and forth or anything.
yeah. So yeah, the 49ers defense was getting tired, even though they've been solid all season. But yeah, I think you could say he scored 35 points against the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a very solid
He
defense. I
scored
think
10. If you think about
they
it,
I think
he scored more points offensively than Pat Mahomes did
yeah,
because Pat Mahomes was given a touchdown, right?
right.
So,
Yeah, technically, yeah, you're right. He scored more points than Patrick Mahomes did offensively. I don't know. I just thought, and he was battling that shoulder injury or
yeah.
whatever it was.
And he was slinging it. He was
You
beating
know,
him. He was beating him both
yeah.
ways. He was beating him with his arm,
Again,
and he was beating him on the run.
the adrenaline playing the Super Bowl, I'm sure, comes into factor there. Um, but yeah, I would say he exceeded my expectations. He was slinging it. He was running it. Um, I do think Nick Sirianni was running a lot of options on second and longs, third and longs, which I wasn't a big fan of, but I understand their mentality is as long as it's 4th and 3 or less, they're going to go for it. So I understand that part, but I do think they could have thrown the ball even a little more than they did. But yeah, Jalen Hurts, he exceeded my expectations. I think he accounted for four touchdowns,
Yeah.
2 rushing and 2 passing.
Yep.
So yeah, he balled out on the biggest stage for sure. Definitely can't take that away from him. Yeah, he had a stellar performance, one of the best QB performances in the Super Bowl
And a Super Bowl
I've seen in a
loss.
while.
And a Super Bowl loss,
Yeah,
especially.
and
Like, the
then
last
it
one I can
just
really remember is when Tom Brady threw like over 500 yards against
yeah
Philadelphia, believe it or unironically. Um, Back in whatever year that was, 2017,
20,
when he put up like
2017.
33 points or something like that, threw 500 yards and lost to Nick Foles. So that's just the way
Yeah,
it is. So I just pulled up here the Super Bowl 58 odds. This is just based off DraftKings Sportsbook. So the Chiefs are favored, followed by the Bills, the 49ers, Philadelphia, and Cincinnati. What are your
right.
thoughts there? I need just an early prediction on who's going to be in the Super Bowl. Obviously, you have every right to go and change this, but just directly after the Super Bowl, who's the AFC winner? Who's the NFC winner? Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl?
Um, Way too early to tell. No, you still got free agency. You still have the draft. Um, obviously, I'm hoping it's Bengals. I'm hoping it's Bengals versus somebody. But you never know, especially with the stacked quarterbacks in the AFC. You have Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, who's getting better and better every year. You have Justin Herbert with the Chargers. They have a new head coach now. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then as far as NFC goes, that one's a little more up for grabs. You don't have those heavyweight AFC teams but you do have a few solid teams like the Eagles. I do think even though the Eagles, they're not in the best spot salary cap wise. They don't have the most to spend in free agency, but I think they're going to be back. Contenders again. The Cowboys, they're inconsistent. They won the first playoff game that I can remember in a while. So hopefully that's a sign of better times for them. And there's always the Vikings. You might have a healthy Rams team coming back this year.
Green Bay.
We'll see.
We could definitely segue. Right,
we'll get to that next. We'll get to that next.
But I'm just gonna throw in a little wild card team. I think in the NFC, and this kills me as a Packers fan. But how about Detroit?
Yeah.
Is that a team that we can sit here and say, like, they're probably not gonna get to the Super Bowl, but like, they definitely exceeded expectations. I think this year they started like 1-5 or 1-6.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the Seattle Seahawks in the final week of the season, I think they would have been. I don't exactly remember what the scenario was, but I'm pretty sure they probably would have been the 7th seed.
Yeah, they would have snuck in there if they were basically one game away. I remember. I think they needed the Seahawks to lose that final game.
Yeah, because then they beat Green Bay, of course. But
and then, yeah, they needed to win, and they ended up winning that Green Bay game. Anyway, who knows if they would have won? Without that pressure on their shoulders. Play calling may have been a little different.
Sure.
But yeah, I do agree. I do think the Lions can be contenders. They're definitely improving as a team. Jared Goff looked good after.
He's played in the Super Bowl. He's taken a team to the Super Bowl before.
Yeah, so I think they were a young team. They drafted Aiden Hutchinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they
went and got T.J. Hawkinson from.
They got T.J. Hawkinson
from Minnesota.
So yeah, I think they're in pretty good shape for 2024-23 season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you call them Super Bowl contenders quite yet, but I think we're going to see some better days in Detroit in the next coming years.
Won a Super Bowl there. Has been with them for 18 years, and as a Packers fan, I'll obviously give my opinion, but I got to get your input. Rodgers is in his darkness room or whatever he's in right now, and he's trying to make a decision on his future, right? So,
right.
What do you think he's thinking?
Well, I think we're gonna go. I think if he doesn't retire, I would say he goes to the Raiders. Derek Carr just got released. And they might even draft a quarterback in this year's draft, but I think they might sign Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't have to be a big deal as he's approaching 40 years old. They might draft him they might sign him for a couple of years, and he'll be back with Devontae Adams, and then maybe they'll see how it goes. I do think with that heavily stacked AFC, I don't know how successful he's going to be.
I was just going to ask you that. Do you think that's because to me, he's 39. It's at this point, if he wants to win a Super Bowl, is that where he goes? Then he's got to deal with a Sean Payton and Russell Wilson duo in Denver. He's got to deal with Justin Herbert, and then he's got to deal with Patrick Mahomes. Is that the spot? I mean, he might be the most happy there besides Green Bay or unretired of other teams that might be the most happy because he'd be with his buddy Devontae Adams and he'd have weapons. It's still, to me, it's not a fantastic defense. It's probably a bottom 20 defense in the NFL at the end of the day in Las Vegas. But do you think that would really make sense for him?
Not that he would be going there to win a Super Bowl, but it does, if he wants to keep playing a little bit, it makes sense for both parties.
So you're concluding that if he goes to the Raiders, he's content on the amount of winning he's done, and he's just doing it for the love of the game.
I don't know, Ray. You're the one that's been watching Aaron Rodgers for the past 15 years. So let me ask you, what do you think he's going to end up? I can never predict with that guy, but I was thinking maybe the Raiders because obviously, I don't know, he has, one Super Bowl is a Super Bowl,
Yeah,
but he's been in it. He's been contending every year
yeah,
and
yeah.
just hasn't gotten over that hump except for that one year.
I
A
don't.
lot of first, second round exits in the playoffs. So what are your thoughts on where Aaron Rodgers is going?
So
What do you want to happen with the quarterback situation in Green Bay with Jordan Love right behind him?
it's so
And
tough.
what do you want to happen, or what do you think will happen with Aaron Rodgers
So
and the
it's so
Packers?
tough to me because if you want to win a Super Bowl, right? So let's look at the NFC. Who are the real contenders in the NFC going into next year? The 49ers, but like they went through four different quarterbacks this year, right? And none of them are like true standouts. A lot of people are like, oh, Tom Brady's going to go to the San Francisco 49ers. And he's like, nope, I'm retiring. So now you got Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo's gone, right? So you're probably working with Brock Purdy or Trey Lance. Can any of those two dudes win you Super Bowl? Like this year, like Brock Purdy kind of was on fire. Do I really expect that next year? Yeah, the team's good. I don't expect him to go like whatever he went like 9-1 when it was all said and done. Philadelphia's going to go and lose a bunch of people this offseason, in my opinion, just because they're not going to be able to pay people. We already talked about that with the salary cap, right? Dallas, do you trust Dallas?
No,
Just going through the teams in the NFC that made the
no.
playoffs. The
You're
Giants,
right.
do you trust the New York Giants?
No,
The
not
LA
yet.
the LA Rams didn't make the playoffs, right? But they were in the Super Bowl the year before. They might be back, right? And then we have Minnesota. Do you trust Minnesota?
Playoff Kirk, no.
And then who am I forgetting in the NFC?
Seahawks, Geno Smith.
Yeah, like be real here. Like
No, yeah, I know. I
if you're the
definitely see
Green
what
Bay
you're
Packers,
saying.
if you're the Green Bay Packers and you're looking at the NFC, what do you do? What's the obvious choice? You bring back Aaron Rodgers, and I'm 100% on board because to me, I think if you bring back Aaron Rodgers, that's one of the few years, right, that you can look at the NFC and be like there's no excuses, right? Like the year, what was it, 2-3 years ago when they lost to Tampa Bay in Green Bay? Yes, they lost at home in the playoffs. I'm used to it. Don't tell me any more about it because I know all about it, right? But like we ran into Tom Brady, right? The next year, we're hosting San Francisco. We ran into Jimmy Garoppolo, right? It happens. Like, it's the Green Bay way. We just lose at home in the playoffs, right? But, like, the Rams were by far the best team in the NFC last year. Like, yeah, the Green Bay had the 1 seed, but the Rams were just, like, you just kind of knew that the Rams were kind of different that year. Going in the next year, like, I mean, and yeah, the season hasn't started yet. We still got free agency. We don't know what's going to happen. To me, it's like if Green Bay can retain Aaron Rodgers, how many teams can you say are better than them? If you just keep Aaron Rodgers, a healthy Aaron Rodgers, they re-signed Aaron Jones. That's a good defense. He doesn't have many weapons. If I'm the Packers, if you want to win the Super Bowl next year, you got to go get him a weapon. You have Aaron Jones, you have AJ Dillon. Like you're fine in the back. You got to get him a weapon. Like, yeah, like Watson had a good standout year as a rookie, right? But like, come on, like he's got to have somebody a little bit better, and that's what killed me about seeing Devontae walk because I was like, I understand like salary cap came into play and all that, but like if you can go get, and it doesn't even need to be someone like Devontae, you can go get someone who's not middle of the pack wide receiver, but someone who's a solid one receiver, and then you could have Christian Watson. I think you could definitely make noise in Green Bay. So in my opinion, I think the Packers should retain Aaron Rodgers. I think they want to retain Aaron Rodgers, but does Aaron Rodgers want to return to Green Bay? I think that's the biggest question here. Because to me, like if you just postpone the Jordan Love era 1 year, like how many more years is Rodgers going to play, right? I feel like if he comes back next year to Green Bay, doesn't win it, then I think he's probably done at that point because he's 40 years old. Like, we know how Aaron Rodgers is. I think the biggest question here is, will Aaron Rodgers come back to Green Bay? I think the Jets job is very interesting. I don't really see him going to the Raiders like we already talked about, just because that division is stacked. To me, it's like if you're 39 years old, you're a 4-time MVP, and like the biggest thing anybody has on you is like you only won one Super Bowl and it was 12 years ago. right? To me, if you're going to come back and you're going to leave Green Bay where you've played your entire career, you're going somewhere where you can look at a team and be like, in the next 3 years, I'll win a Super Bowl, or I'll at least have a chance to win one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the Raiders really aren't that team, even though Devontae's there, just because you're going to have to play the Chiefs twice a year, the Chargers twice a year, and the Broncos twice a year. And to me, with that Raiders team, you're probably going at best 3-3 in that division. And I haven't looked at I'd have to really go and look at what the Raiders' schedule looks like next year. But to me, it's like with Patrick Mahomes in that division, like you're going to be playing wild card weekend on the road. You're going to have to go on the road probably 3 games if he goes to the Raiders. And I don't know if I see that team going on the road in the wild card round, in the divisional round, and the AFC Championship game, especially going in an Arrowhead and beating them. It doesn't matter if it's Aaron Rodgers, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I mean? So to me, I think the 2 most logical spots for him would be to either stay in Green Bay, he knows the team, he knows the organization, or going to the New York Jets. Like, straight up, like, I don't know, like, it makes a ton of sense to me. If he were to go to Green Bay and he picked the Jets, like, yeah, obviously I'd be upset because, like, I grew up watching Aaron Rodgers, right? But would I be like, wow, that's a dumb move? Like, no. I would be like, that's huge. Like, they're a team that is now going to contend immediately with Cincinnati, with Buffalo, and Kansas City. Like, if they get Aaron Rodgers, I think the Jets are right up there immediately.
One thing with doing the Jets, for Aaron Rodgers, it would be a kind of. I mean, obviously, it's not as stacked as the AFC West, but you still got to deal with Josh Allen and the Bills, Bill Belichick's Patriots, and then even Tua.
Yeah, I agree.
Even
No,
Tua
you're
and the
right.
Dolphins.
You're right. I mean,
they're not going to be. None of those teams are going to be easy to beat next year. I don't think.
And this is why I say
but I do see your point for sure.
If he wants to win a Super Bowl, right? If his objective is, okay, I'm going to play 2 more years. I want to win a Super Bowl those years, or one of those years, whatever he says. He would stay in the NFC, because regardless of where you go in the AFC, like even if he were to go to the Jets, if he were to go to a team like Tennessee, even, right? What's going to happen, right? They'll make the playoffs. They might win their division. They might not win their division. Regardless, you're probably going to have to run into Kansas City, Cincinnati, Buffalo. Like,
yeah,
to me,
it's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, my ideal situation, we can talk about Derek Carr or even Lamar Jackson a little bit more. I don't know how much time we got left here. But to me, I see Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay, and I see Derek Carr either on the New York Jets or on the Carolina Panthers. Those are my 2 teams that I could see a Derek Carr fitting in. I think, like, the Jets would be a better team with Aaron Rodgers than Derek Carr, right? But if you're the Jets and you're looking at not the next 3 years, but the next 10 years, I think Derek Carr is the direction you go in. I'm not saying that the guy is going to win you a Super Bowl, but I think if you go with Aaron Rodgers, with the current landscape of the AFC with Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Kansas City, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. You make a really good point in him. Obviously, if he wants to win a Super Bowl,
he stays in Green Bay.
He stays at least in the NFC. Maybe, some people are saying maybe the Niners, they have too much going on over there.
I was just going to say the Niners. Like, the Niners would make sense, but it seems like he's kind of already shot that down.
Yeah. We'll see. Didn't he say something about not going to San Francisco?
Yeah, he was at
on the golf tour or something.
Or whatever. He was at some golf course.
Whatever it was, yeah. No,
and they asked him, like, "Oh, where are you playing next year?" And he said, "Not San Fran or something like that." Yeah. Which is very interesting. That
it could be Aaron Rodgers' classic mind games move. Maybe that's exactly where he's going. You never know.
And to be honest, I think if he goes to San Francisco, I think they win the NFC and they probably win the Super Bowl. If you insert him into a Kyle Shanahan offense next year with those weapons on offense, that good of a defense, I just can't see. I think they would wash the NFC if he goes to San Francisco. I don't think any team, even if Philadelphia is able to retain all those players and, the Rams make a comeback or something, I just think that they would be borderline unstoppable. And I think if he were to go to San Francisco were to represent the NFC, and a team like the Chiefs or even the Bengals went to the Super Bowl next year, I think that would be one of the best Super Bowls of all time. Because the offenses would be both insane to watch.
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan offense with Aaron Rodgers, and then an Andy Reid-led offense with Patrick Mahomes. Could you be kidding me? Come on. The NFL scriptwriters want that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see where Aaron Rodgers is going. Don't have much time left on this one, but we could always do another podcast.
Yeah. Well, I guess just kind of my final question for you here is, you kind of already said where you think Rodgers is going. Where do you think Derek Carr is going? This will be our last point here. Where do you think Derek Carr is going? Where's Lamar play next year? Just some NFL free agency predictions. Give me like 2 or 3.
I'm going to start with Lamar. So I think the thing with Lamar, right, is if the Ravens re-sign him, they will be a contender, right?
Absolutely.
They have a great defense. They'll have Mark Andrews still, and then they'll have Lamar, and they'll definitely be contenders in the North. But the thing is, it's not I don't think it's a matter of Lamar's talent anymore. It's just a matter if he could stay healthy, and that would be the risk, in paying him a big contract if he can't stay on the field. So maybe they do part ways with him, but I just can't see. I feel like you would still rather have a Lamar Jackson, even if he misses a couple weeks, with one of his nagging injuries, than another quarterback.
And if they get rid of Lamar, they basically have to blow the whole team up because that offense is built entirely around him. If you were to go get a pocket passer and put him in there, like it wouldn't work.
That was my next point. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, they built that team around Lamar Jackson. So I just can't see them parting ways because there's no one on the free agent market except for Rodgers and Carr. I can't see either of them going to the Ravens just because they just wouldn't fit their system that they built around Lamar.
So you're saying Lamar's returning to Baltimore is your point?
I think that's definitely what Baltimore wants. I think they definitely want Lamar to stay. But I also don't see him fitting really anywhere else.
I agree.
Fitting in another system, maybe
Miami. I've heard rumblings about him possibly in Miami.
Maybe the Jets. Maybe the Jets. I can't picture him going to the Jets either.
Imagine a world where
I do think he's going to end up staying with the Ravens. As a Bengals fan, I don't want him to stay with the Ravens, but I just think it's going to end up happening. I think it's more of it's kind of turned into like an Aaron Judge Yankee situation kind of thing, just
some Yankees talk in there.
Yeah. I know. Spring training. Spring training coming up.
That'll be the next podcast for sure. We'll definitely talk some Yanks.
But yeah, I can't see Lamar Jackson going anywhere. Derek Carr, I've really thought about, especially when he just got released the other day. So I haven't really thought about where Derek Carr is going yet, but I guess what are his options, like Carolina and the Jets? Like
there's a lot of literally any team in the NFC South I could see signing him. I could see the Saints. Well, I think he met with the Saints this week. I could see him fitting in Carolina. Obviously, Tampa's looking for something. And Atlanta. Atlanta's already been had talk. I think Atlanta wanted. Didn't Atlanta want Lamar last year or something like that? I feel like I remember hearing that, right? If a quarterback could be available, and then they got stuck with Marcus Mariota. But I think this is
the options are open for Derek Carr, and I just think, and he's still a gamer. He's a solid quarterback. He just, I just think his time was up in Las Vegas, on both sides. But yeah, I think maybe he just needs one of those fresh starts, get another system in him because he's definitely a gamer.
Russell Wilson did. It didn't work the first year, but I put Sean Payton in there. I think that the Broncos are going to be pretty.
Derek Carr is a little younger than Russell Wilson now. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. What are your thoughts on Derek Carr?
With the time remaining here, it's so tough. It's so tough because it really depends what I envision is going to happen. The quarterbacks that are basically available, the ones that come to mind are Rodgers, Carr, Garoppolo. Who am I forgetting? Who are the other like quarterbacks that are really like? So it's Rodgers, Lamar, Carr, Garoppolo. Like those four. Like I think once one of them makes a decision, I think it's just gonna be a domino effect. Like I think if Aaron Rodgers comes out tomorrow and says I'm staying in Green Bay, then you're gonna see things fall into place because then the Jets are gonna be like, okay, we can't get Aaron Rodgers, so let's try and get Derek Carr, right? And then
Right.
Derek Carr's like, no, I don't want to go to the New York Jets. Then they're going to be like, okay, then let's go after Lamar. Let's go after Jimmy Garoppolo. You're going to see things fall into place once one domino falls. That's what I envision. Um, I don't know if I see him in the Jets. I think it would be like kind of hilarious if this is kind of the off season the Jets have been waiting for, where like they have the team now they just need the quarterback. What if they miss on Lamar, Rodgers, Derek Carr, and maybe even Jimmy Garoppolo? I think it'd be pretty funny if they kind of ended up with nobody. I don't really envision that. I think they're going to end up getting a solid quarterback there because the quarterback's going to recognize that like that's a good team. This is like basically a Super Bowl roster away from a quarterback. But yeah, I don't really know where he's going because there's a lot of places he could go. But yeah, that's my thoughts there. He could be anywhere. Ask me in a week, I'll probably have a different opinion. Same thing on Rodgers and Lamar.
Do you think if Rodgers somehow ends up going to the Jets, how do you think he would be able to handle that New York media? We only got a minute left here. Do you think it'll be any different than Green Bay? I know Green Bay is a big football.
I don't know. I don't know if it'll be really a
organization.
problem. I don't know if it'll really be a huge problem of him handling it.
I don't know. Maybe their reactions will blow everything out of proportion. You know how they are. And
yeah,
the Giants and
yeah, I think he would be fine. I don't know. Rodgers is the kind of guy who's not going to make a decision that like he won't be 100% sure on. He's going into this darkness room or whatever it is. He's going to walk out. He's going to be 110% confident in himself. Say, okay, the New York Jets my place.
All right, Braeden, I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for coming on In the Yard podcast. First episode officially done. Probably have to make some edits to this, but yeah, I feel like a solid first start.
Until the next episode where we'll talk more Yanks.
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe we'll be talking Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
We might be talking more NFL free agency.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I'll see you, bud.
In the Yard. Have a good one.
Yep. Peace.